What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the More Than Love podcast. I'm your host, Terry Duran. I got my partner, Jay Babo, with me. What's going on, Jay?
Not much. Ready to get into another good show tonight.
Yeah, man. Tonight we're going to be talking about temptation and trust issues. That seems to be a real hot topic and something that comes up often in the discussions and questions that I get. But before we get into that, I'd like to start off with giving a shout out to Brother Soul Productions for the audio for the show. And we like to start the show off with a segment that we call Terry's Top 3, where we basically highlight and discuss some of the 3 most popular or controversial posts from my Instagram page at Terry Duran. So the first post that we're going to be getting in today, talking about today, discusses a woman's past. And so let's see, the post itself is a question that was sent to me. It said, does a woman's past matter? My boyfriend received word that in college, my crew and I were considered groupies to the football team. He says he has issues with this, but it's been over 9 years. He's always asking questions about my actions. Shouldn't he get over it? Now, this woman said her boyfriend, so they're not husband and wife yet. So he's still in a position where he's trying to consider whether this is somebody he wants to marry or take the next step with. And so I think that a person's past always matters to a degree. That doesn't mean that we can't grow. That doesn't mean we can't change. That doesn't mean we can't outgrow our past. But your past is your past. You know what I mean? And so when it comes to a guy just now finding out, you know what I'm saying, that his girl used to be a groupie in college for a football team, like, man,
Yeah, every woman comes with a past, but it's it's a matter of what are you willing to accept, what you're not willing to accept. Now, she said she was a groupie in college.
Yeah.
I mean, could she have changed? So, she's 9 years removed from that. Could she have changed? Might she look at that now and say, "Damn, what the hell was I doing?" I mean, possibly.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. That's. I think a lot of college people look back on their college days, and it's one of the reasons. That's one of the most exciting periods of life for most people. You're coming into your adulthood. You get to go out when you want. You don't have to ask permission. Like, there are a lot of different things that contribute to this type of behavior. But a woman being considered a groupie to a college football team is drastically different than just being a regular chick. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
That's a very significant label, you know what I'm saying, or reputation to have as far as women goes. And so
it's like, okay, what were you doing with the football team? How many guys were you dealing with on the football team? I guess that would be another question too that would come to play here.
Right. I mean, it's normal for him to ask questions. He wants details. Like, now that's a catch-22. You don't want too many details because shit. but I mean, it's what would you rather give details about something you did in your 20s or have a motherfucker overthinking and imagining what you were doing? You know what I mean? Like, so.
Right.
I think it's in her best interest to at least discuss it and say exactly what it was. I do think that you have to give the benefit of the doubt of age, maturity, growth, etc. If she was single, technically you can do whatever you want when you're single, but that does not mean that it cannot influence how a person views you and whether or not they consider you somebody that will want to marry and give their last name, right? So that's something that everybody gets to decide for themselves what's a deal breaker, what's not. And so in this scenario, I wouldn't necessarily just say that this is him being insecure or something to that degree. Like, now, one thing that this is kind of related to would relate to body count. Somebody kind of brought up in the comments like, well, Terry, you said body counts don't matter. Well, a body count is something that can't never be proven or verified. So to say, 11, you too high, well, how you know? You know what I'm saying? Like, that to me is one thing. having a reputation on a college campus for being a teen groupie is totally different. That's something that can be confirmed by others and verified. You know what I mean? At least to a degree. You know what I mean? Like, so that having a reputation and a past, especially something that you're not even denying. You know what I mean? Like, that's different than going off of a body count, because some people don't even remember their body count. So that's how I would kind of differentiate between those two things. All right, let's move on to the next post that I wanted to talk about. Now, this was a post that was really important and got a lot of traction. This post said, I don't know what high school girl under 18 needs to hear this, but that grown man doesn't think you're mature for your age. Women his age just see the bum in him, and he's a predator. Tell on him. Now, obviously, a man targeting a chick that's underage and he's an adult is a predator. You know what I mean? At the very least.
Yeah.
That don't necessarily mean you're a rapist or whatever, but you targeting women that are underage, you're a predator. You're preying on them. But I think this also applies to men that are older men in their 30s or 40s, etc., that only date women in their mid 20s or very young women. Don't necessarily have to be the 18-year-old, but they target very young women that are young adults. To me, I've always viewed those men as very lame as well, because what's that doing is a man that cannot succeed with the attractive women in his own age bracket and his own social setting. That means he's struggling in some type of area among his competition. And so what those men are doing is essentially they're trading in their natural competition or their natural peers, and they're making their peers 20-year-old guys and 21-year-old college boys, the guys that these girls would normally be dating. So the 21-year-old college chick that's dating the 37-year-old that got his money, that got a house, that got the things that are able to make him look like a much better option than a 21-year-old guy.
Than the average college kid.
Right. To me, those guys are lame.
Yeah, I would say But I think he's preying on the fact that, she's naive. Most of the time, she's not really up on game. She doesn't necessarily have, the maturity or the mental capacity.
Right.
In that life. So I think he's more so preying on that.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people kind of brought up the Diddy and Lori Harvey situation. To me, that makes Diddy look lame too. You know what I mean? Like, you can have any woman in your age range. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you dating a 22-year-old chick. Like, that's whack to me. Like,
right, and you're like 50 years old.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's whack to me. I don't. Like, obviously, Diddy can date whoever he wants. He's a celebrity, you know what I'm saying? Like, their dating doesn't really translate to a real normal person, but a 50-year-old man dating a chick that's 20-something years younger than her, come on, bro. Like, I get it, the sexual attraction and the ability to do it because you Diddy, but, man, that's especially a chick that dated your son. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's super lame to me. At least that's
lame as hell.
Yeah, the way.
I'm sure he could have found someone else here.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's it's not like he's somebody that's ever gonna be hurting for options as far as women go.
No.
Now, this last post is a video that I wanted to play. Now, this is kind of relating to our topic of the night, temptation and trust issues, and this kind of portrays a lot of the worst case scenario for that can create some trust issues. Let's take a look.
I'm gay, so if he pops up, I'll just be gay. So long story short is her man pulled up the next morning, and as soon as mind you, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed fucking her. It was amazing, but I would never do it again. But I done fucked this girl a couple times, and it was bomb. You know, I just knew eat her pussy when I didn't have a haircut. That way I didn't have to worry about my face or whatever. So that morning I was fucking the shit out of her, right? I was fucking the shit out of this girl, right? And then that morning, we hear the door, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's my man!" And we were like naked, and I had like underwears on. And as soon as he walked in, I was like, "Yeah, girl, you know, like, oh my God, who's this?" Like, I was like, "Oh my God, who's this?" And he's like, "Well, who is this?" And I was like, "Oh, my name is Carlos. What's up? Like, we was talking about you all night." And I had just fucked his bitch, bro. Like, and we were still fucking, even though she had her man. And then I just got over it because I think she got pregnant, and then she blocked me from everywhere. And I think she had my baby. Listen, have you ever felt so strongly about something? I feel like because I'm not gonna lie, I used to fuck her raw, bro. Like, and I used to be nutting. That was the first time that I experienced what like fucking raw was. And like, it felt so good. And I used to be busting nuts in her and everything. Like, so I feel like she got pregnant because she stopped talking to me out of nowhere and blocked me everywhere.
Girl, so that might be it. You feel me? She doesn't know how to tell her man.
I think she got pregnant, bitch, and I think I have a baby. And I would be so happy if that was to be true. I'm still trying to sit here and be like, I hope that's true. And one day somebody's like, I think you're my dad. I would be so happy.
Nigga thinks he's in a movie. Are you my dad? Oh my God.
Yo,
I knock on his door like, you're my dad.
Yo, I swear to God, I think this bitch got pregnant, and that's...
Now, I've heard of situations like this, guys that are bisexual, that obviously swing both ways and are capable of attracting women, and etc. But this kind of takes the cake, you know what I mean? Like, for a woman to potentially be pregnant by somebody, that's very scandalous to do. If you're gonna be cheating, that's one thing. To cheat and let somebody hit it raw and come inside you, like, that's taking cheating to another level, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really what you do, it's how you do it. You know what I mean? Like, I talk about oftentimes the difference between a guy that cheats, that's honest and open with chicks, and a guy that misleads chicks and takes off his ring when he goes places and portrays himself to be single to chicks. Like, those are two different guys. You know what I mean? Like, even though both of them are cheating, those are still two different levels of guys and levels of character being displayed.
Right. But I mean, I think these things happen more often than you think.
Yeah.
A woman cheats and possibly, gets pregnant by somebody else. Yeah, so, you see the episodes on Mario all the time.
Yeah, I read like a stat that says something like over 50% of the men's names on birth certificates are inaccurate or not the actual fathers. Now, that's some of that is voluntary.
That's a pretty high number.
Yeah, it is a high number. You know what I mean? Like, but paternity tests are not mandatory, and a lot of guys, unless there's just a drastic difference in how the child looks, etc., or people bringing it up like in a small town, something to that degree, men are not generally as suspicious as women typically are. And that's why men don't go through phones as much. Like, men just aren't. Maybe it's stupidity in a lot of ways. Like, once you get your side dude experience and you see how this goes down, you be like, damn, man, I would have never thought it was like this. You know what I mean? Like so that really kind of, that's what opened my eyes to how women really operated. You know what I'm saying? And some of the stuff that goes down with women that have the utmost respect and the utmost character. You know what I mean? Like, damn, you suck dick in your office. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really mind blowing to see the kind of stuff that women actually do for men that they, feeling like that or they're romantically involved with. We're about to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to get into our topic of the night. Tonight we are talking about temptation and trust issues, so this should be interesting. You're watching the More Than Love podcast. Thanks for What's going on, everybody? This is dating expert Terry Duran, and I'm very pleased to announce that I have created my Patreon page. Patreon is an app that you can download that allows you to subscribe to exclusive content. So I have a variety of things that I'll be doing to help you all reach your relationship goals. I'll be doing a monthly conference line where you can call in and ask me questions directly. And going forward, in order to get a response from me from a DM, you'll have to be one of my patrons. So for those of you that would like my insight and my advice and would like me to help guide you through your relationships or your dating experiences, I would strongly recommend you move over to Patreon, because that's where I'll be giving some of my most important content. All right, everybody, welcome back. You are watching the More Than Love podcast. Tonight we are talking about temptation and trust issues. These are two things that come up an awful lot in my discussions on my page and the questions I get submitted. A lot of people have trust issues or insecurities based off the past, based off the things that they read about other people getting caught cheating, all these type of things, and this type of discussions that circulate on social media. And so it creates a lot of stress and a lot of turmoil with people when dating, because temptation is always going to be there. You know, there are always going to be other people that your partner finds attractive. There are people that are bisexual that like men and women. So a lot of the things that people try to do to deal with these insecurities and these temptations and this fear of being cheated on, it creates more problems than it actually solves. So wanted to just break down this topic in detail and kind of break it down piece by piece or layer by layer. When we're talking about trust is an essential part to any relationship. So it's impossible to have any relationship that can be described as healthy without having at least some level of trust. And so the bad part about dating or relationships is your trust for somebody can be broken or violated without your consent. You know, you don't have control over whether or not a person remains trustworthy or whether or not they were actually trustworthy to begin with. That's something, if you find out that you're wrong, it's usually too late. You know what I mean? By the time you find out somebody's not trustworthy, you generally have to put them in a position where you at least have to trust them to some degree in order to be hurt or betrayed or violated. So it's not something, that's part of the risk that comes with dating. Because in any situation, if there you want to have the possibility of success, of love, happiness, marriage, etc., then you have to kind of accept the risk of heartbreak or breakup, because those things are possible whenever you start getting attached to somebody. Whenever you have somebody that you really like, that you're looking forward to, that you think about every day, that you spend a lot of time with, etc., those behaviors within itself creates a situation where once they stop, you're going to miss them. You're going to be reminiscent. You're going to have a collection of memories. You're going to have things that remind you of the person, etc. And so it's an inevitable part of the dating process. But when we're talking about trust issues, the reason that I think this is so important is because a relationship without trust is essentially doomed to fail. And so
absolutely,
it's not something that you can pretend to have. And a lot of people, like we'll get into a little bit further, a lot of people try to come up with life hacks or rules to try to make themselves feel better about the situation, but that really doesn't accomplish the goal. You know what I mean? That leads to my next point. There is no way that you can cheat-proof a relationship. You know what I mean? Like, a person can bust a nut with anybody. You know what I mean? Like, we got so many people that are on the DL, that are gay, that have, people are sleeping with their cousins and stepsisters and all that. Like, there's no way. It could be a coworker, a boss, it could be an ex. Like, so there's no way to.
I think there's always there's always the temptation. There's always the opportunity. You know, like you said, there's no way to cheat-proof relations, but people think they can. People think, well, if he's with me all the time, or he or she's with me all the time, they won't go cheat. I'm looking, I'm gonna look through their phone.
Yeah.
Do X, Y, and Z.
They come up with a list of stuff, but that's never going to prevent that from happening. You know what I mean? Like, a person doesn't have to use their phone.
And I think at the end of the day, if a person wants to go out and cheat, they're going to find a way to cheat regardless.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like they can buy a secondary line. There are apps that you can
Exactly.
use to call people. Like there are
Shit,
ways to get around.
They can say they're going to work and then you know, they go to the nearest hotel. I mean,
yeah, I mean it's but
people will find a way if they really want to, you know, just go out and really just see, people will go out their way and figure out ways to do it or get creative with it, you know.
Right, you know what I mean? And oftentimes the people that are trying to cheat-proof their relationship kind of create an environment that increases the likelihood of cheating. You know what I mean? Like those are the kind of people that are always coming with accusations, always suspicious of everything, always treating the person as if they cheated already. You know what I mean? Like in those type of things, eventually people be like, well, fuck it. If I'm gonna get treated like I'm doing it, I'm going to actually do it. And so it creates a scenario where you're like, is it the chicken or the egg? Which one came first? You know what I mean?
Right.
The part about people having unlimited cheating partners, that's something that I really want to stress. Like there are people that have been cheating for years and have never got caught. It's a friend who got a straight friend that just like to eat pussy sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like there are things like that happen where they don't get caught. They don't have to text about it. They don't have to have conversations that would lead you to believe that they fucking. You know what I mean? Like, and so, like there are certain situations where it's taboo. Somebody they're not supposed to be fucking. It's a chick letting her stepbrother fuck, or you know what I'm saying? Like, or a chick fucking her stepdad and shit like that. Like all this type of stuff happens. A chick fucking her homegirl's baby daddy. Like people that they're not supposed to be fucking. You know what I'm saying? When you have that type of stuff going on, it gives both people a much higher motive to keep it a secret. And so that's why I talk about, when we talk about cheating and trying to use whether somebody's faithful or not as the main factor to judge them, like that's a very flawed practice because it's almost impossible to prove or verify cheating. Like there are only a very
now, are you talking about from in a previous relationship? Or
well, I'm talking about just to catch somebody that's in a relationship currently cheating. Like the only way that really happens is if some type of evidence comes, unwanted pregnancy, STD, or some type of physical evidence. Yeah, some type of physical evidence. Somebody saw you. You got in a car accident in the car together. Like it has to be some type of way that the situation gets documented. Outside of that, you just out of luck. Because you can bust a nut, delete the person's number, and never hook up with them again. And if there's no pregnancy or no STD, all it is a shower to erase away the evidence. You know what I mean? Like, so these type of things, it happens every day. It gets talked about every day, and every day pretty much somebody gets caught cheating. And so it creates this kind of cloud of suspicion that really pretty much, you know, pervades relationships as a whole, because it makes people so distrustful and so unwilling to even put themselves out there to be, you know, it creates a situation where it's a volatile situation because they're too extreme, right? You got women that are desperate to get in relationships and do everything they can to try to make that happen. But then those exact same people are very distrustful and don't have they're either not healed enough. That's the common way to describe it. They either haven't healed from the past or the trauma, or they just don't have the right mentality on the opposite sex to where they can have a healthy relationship.
When you just got desperate to get in a relationship, you get the person that you don't need to be in a relationship that you probably don't have any business being in a relationship with out of time when you're just desperate to be in a relationship with somebody.
Yeah, you know.
So you're in that relationship, and then you're kind of just willing to put up with anything.
Yeah, it clouds your judgment. Kind of like when you go shopping and go to the grocery store and you starving. You know what I'm saying? Like you starving in the grocery store, you're likely to buy all kind of stuff that you probably really ain't got no business doing, or that you just want just because you saw it at that particular time. It's kind of the same way with dating. people that are anxious to be happy or in a relationship are just so caught up in the whirlwind aspect of meeting somebody new, they overlook all the things that are telling them they shouldn't be in that relationship, or that they're going to have conflicts with that person in the future.
Right.
Now, one thing that I do want to stress, or I do want to at least bring up, is people are capable of exercising self-control. People are capable of learning from their past mistakes. They are capable of making different decisions when put in a situation that they were in previously. So the idea that just because a person did something one time or did something in their past guarantees that they're going to make that same decision in the future, that's a false narrative. And that's kind of the narrative about cheating that gets pushed. Once a cheater, always a cheater.
Well, always a cheater.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually kind of, pretty cliche at this point.
Well,
yeah,
it is a cliche.
Beat that one into the ground. Yeah.
Now, there are some people that cheat no matter what, but I don't think that represents most people that cheat. I think most people that cheat are missing something out of their partner or their relationship, and they feel like they can get it somewhere else and not get caught. And so a lot of times that's what they do, based off the facts or the situation. I mean, even in situations where they don't have kids or there's no money involved, a lot of people just don't want to be the person that dumped the other person. A lot of people don't want to, they would rather you break up with them. Like, that's why people kind of passive aggressively, it's not you, it's me. Like, they come to they struggle to have that conversation, even though it could be obvious that y'all grew apart or that y'all not really meant to be together. It's just a painful thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, breaking up with somebody that you care about or you love, no matter what the reason is very painful. Like, I've done that before. It was my reason I broke up, because I wanted to be a thought, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to be single my last year in college and not be just cheating on you the whole time. So I was trying to do it in a, be honorable, do the right thing.
In a cordial way, man.
I mean, but it still hurt. We were both crying, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was super emotional. It was a very big deal, you know what I mean? Like, it's something I had never had to do before, but when it was something I had been thinking about, it was a tough conversation to have, and so it's always going to be a tough situation to get past cheating or get past trust issues or dealing with somebody that got cheated on in the past. But if y'all want these 30-year marriages that y'all be talking about, you're going to have to at least work through it. I ain't going to say get over it, but you have to work through it. You have to give some benefit of the doubt. You have to come to terms with those assumptions that you're making are not practical. They're not realistic. It's not realistic to think that a man's gonna get some pussy every time you're not around, every time you're not there to call and check. You know what I mean? Like, or think that you can do things to prevent it from happening. Like, that's the part that I don't know. I guess women or people that feel this way fooling themselves into that they're preventing themselves from being cheated on. If they actually get cheated on, does that make it worse? You know what I mean? Like, so I don't necessarily know, but to me, when I see the way people talk about it, I see the advice other people give and comments and stuff that they say, and it's like, man, these people really don't have a realistic grasp on how things really operate.
Like, it's always cheaper, but, and nothing you're going to do is go, like I said, they want you, nothing you're going to do is going to serve as any kind of, deterrent for them, not to cheat.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest deterrent.
They want to do it, they're going to do it, they're going to find a way.
Well, that's not, you're right, it's not necessarily, that doesn't always apply. A person can want to cheat and still turn it down, still resist the opportunity. They can be thinking about it or making moves headed towards it and catch themselves at the last minute. Like, it's not always as just clear cut as people try to portray it. A person can be, a dude could be somewhere be putting on a condom and they be like, man, I can't do this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
those type of
But,
things.
but I think a lot of women will still see that as cheating. Remember that?
That
clip from Baby Boy that she put a few weeks back.
Yeah.
When Tyrese was with the one, and he decided not to go through it, and he said, how that shows a lot of self-control. A lot of women said, well, you should have been there anyway. What were you doing there?
Right. That'll get ignored, and they'll be complaining about like the fact that he almost did it. But from a realistic standpoint, that's the definition of self-control, where you was almost about to do something and you decided with nobody else putting a gun to your head, nothing, your own individual decision to not do it.
You made a conscious choice not to go through with it.
Yeah, like to me that. I can't just sit here and be like, well, to me, that would be all good, you know what I'm saying? Because I'd be like, well, how you got there and you got your thong off, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you're going to be upset with the questions, but that doesn't change the fact that is self-control. You know what I mean? And the way that I look at it, like exercising self-control when you are about to fuck, that to me should get like bonus points. You know what I'm saying? Like resisting some pussy where y'all alone and she's almost naked, you know what I'm saying? Like that's among male friends, that would be commendable. Like, for real, you ain't even let her suck your dick, you know what I'm saying? Like that would garner like surprise from most guys, I think. Because man, once you like, there are a lot of people that be like, man, once you already guilty in most women's eyes just by putting yourself in that predicament. So a lot of guys will be like, man, you might as well hit the pussy, you know what I'm saying? Because if she find out that you met up with her, she's not going to believe you didn't. You know what I mean? Like, so there's that kind of train of thought too. But that's what makes it so complex. You know what I mean? Like, there are so many scenarios and factors and decisions that go into what could possibly happen that these cliches don't really do the topic justice. And it's hard because so many people love the cliches. The most popular people feed cliches and speak in cliches. And it's like, it creates this scenario where women are just going around clueless and they're not seeing things for what they really are. So hopefully, episodes like this where we take a deep dive into these kind of topics and talk about the what is and the ins and outs. Hopefully they can help some people get a more practical grasp on what you're really facing when you're dating into that.
You get a better topic as opposed to just hearing the cliches, like you just said, and just taking that and running with it.
Yeah, because I mean, if you don't have a realistic perspective on what to expect out of dating in this day and age, then you're always going to be hurt or disappointed when you experience reality. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the part of it. Like, coming to terms with the fact that you cannot prevent cheating, man, that relieves so much of a burden. Like, just coming to terms with the reality of it. You know what I mean? Like, accepting the fact that the person that you love could cheat on you. You know what I mean? Like, not having that constant. I don't have it, but I talk to enough people.
I feel like this: if you feel you gotta keep tabs of the 24/7 to make sure they're not cheating, then you probably don't need to be in a relationship with that person. You gotta do all that. Yeah, I'm gonna keep proof relationship. I'm gonna check their phone. I'm gonna make sure they're at their job, or I'm gonna
smell their underwear. I'm gonna do this. Like, all these tactics that you're doing don't really accomplish. They can get people caught, but they don't prevent it from happening. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of times, if the person's not cheating, what you're doing is essentially killing your relationship with the insecurity. I would liken it to being insecurity is very similar to cancer. It doesn't instantly kill the relationship, but over long periods of time, it wears on the person and it destroys the fabric of the relationship. Looks like we are up against the clock. Big shout out to Brother Soul Productions again for the sound. Make sure y'all go check us out to support the page. Go check out and become one of my patrons on patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Terry Duran. Make sure y'all follow the podcast on Instagram at the More Than Love Podcast. The information's there on the screen. Shout out to you, Jay, man. Appreciate another episode in the books. And look like we're ready to roll. All right, y'all, man. Y'all have a good one.
All right.